How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Luke and I are back after a somewhat long hiatus. It was a little over a week. The NFL schedule is out. The 2026 NFL season, the outlook for that season is right in front of us. We all know we did all 272 games. We know when they will be played. We know what channels they will be on. We know what weeks they will be in. And on opening night, the way the 2025 season ended is the way the 2026 season will start between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. You have the Rams and the 49ers playing basically on Mars, Melbourne, but like still might as well be. And then the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, despite a 6-11 season last year, you was wondering like when they would open the year, would they get a bad team in an early window? Not the case. They opened up on Monday Night Football at home against the Denver Broncos. And then, of course, you have the Cowboys and the Giants on Sunday night. And then that is the primary games for week one, which will be here in just about 4 months from now, September 13th. It's the first NFL Sunday of the year. So Lucas and I will break down the Chiefs' schedule. We will go through all 17 games. I will give a game-by-game prediction. Lucas will give a game-by-game prediction to figure out where we land on their record. Hopefully, it's better than 6-11. And then we will look at 5 other, I think, relevant teams in the NFL. We will go through their schedules, where we're not going to give a record prediction, but like where we think those teams lie, how we think we feel about their schedules. And then we will go through our top 3 games within the 5 primary game windows. That is Sunday Night Football and NBC, Monday Night Football, Fox late window games, CBS late window games, and then Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. I can't wait to get all into it. I finally have the schedule memorized. I spent the last 48 hours trying to get that all down pat. I'm sure Lucas did the same. I hope he didn't, Lucas. Lucas, how you doing on this Saturday early evening, I should say?
I'm doing pretty well. I gotta say, I remember when we predicted the week 1 schedule.
Yeah,
Not
we
the
were
week one,
not close.
I believe. Do you remember what I had for the Monday night game?
You had the
'Cause
Chiefs and the Raiders, didn't you?
I was close.
You
I
were
gotta say,
close.
also, I had the Chiefs in that window, and I had them facing a division rival. I just picked the
Yeah.
right one because I overthought it, and I thought, oh, the NFL wanted to push Fernando Mendoza, but I guess the NFL wanted to do the opposite because the Raiders have 0
The Raiders
primetime
have no
games,
primetime
or at least
games. Yeah.
schedules.
Yeah, there's
So
5 teams. The Raiders, Dolphins, Jets, Titans, and Cardinals have no primetime games. I'm surprised the Raiders didn't get a Thursday night game in there. I'm surprised the Titans didn't get one because Cam Ward in his second year, they have a new coaching staff. The other 3 teams I'm not surprised about. I anticipated the Jets getting one because of the New York market. That did not happen. I believe I had Ravens Chargers as the Monday night opener. That is a Monday night game, but it's in week 10. I had Chiefs Bengals as the Sunday night opener. That is in week 14 in Fox's game of the week. So speaking of the Chiefs, we might as well just get right into it. We will go through here is the Chiefs 2026 NFL schedule. Okay. Week 1, like I said, they open at home against the Denver Broncos, who, took over the division last year. Week 2, they are again at home in primetime against the Indianapolis Colts. Week 3, they are on the road at the Miami Dolphins in the early window on CBS. I got to tell you, Lucas, the Chiefs might be getting some Spiro Didi's action this year, looking at these CBS windows and looking at some of these opponents. So they're at Miami, early window, week 3. Week 4, they are on the road at the Raiders. That is a 4:25 game, Eastern time, 3:25 our time. Here's the downside. They have the week 5 bye. They have the earliest possible bye, which is not ideal. So they're going to be all guns a-blazing ahead. Week 6, they are at home against the Chargers, 3:25 CBS's game of the week. Week 7, they're at Seattle on Sunday Night Football. Kenneth Walker's return to Seattle there. Week 8, they are at Denver, 3:25 CBS's game of the week. And then they have a really easy 3-game stretch. Week 9, they're at home against the Jets, early window on CBS. Week 10, they are at Atlanta, early window on CBS. Week 11, they are home to the Arizona Cardinals, early window on CBS. And here's where it gets quite a bit tougher. Week 12, they're at Buffalo on Thanksgiving night on NBC, not on CBS this year. Week 13, they are at the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Week 14, they are at Cincinnati on Fox's game of the week, which that game on Fox is utter woke nonsense, but that's neither here nor there. Week 15, they're at home against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. Week 15, they are at home against the San Francisco 49ers on CBS's Game of the Week. Week 17, they're at the Chargers. That game is TBD. We don't know when that game will be played. We just know it's week 17. And then they close the regular season, hopefully just the regular season, not the season as a whole, at home against the Las Vegas Raiders, just like they did last year. The only difference is the location. So, Lucas, I will go through all 17. I'm going to tell you if I think they win or lose. You will do the same. And then we'll move on to the other 5 teams. We're going to break down what we think about the Chiefs for the rest of the offseason. We have plenty of time to do that. So here's just a quick reaction to their schedule. So week 1 at home against the Broncos. Look, I honest to God think this is a must win to show that last year was a fluke, in my opinion. If they come out and they play poorly and they struggle to generate offense, even with an enhanced running back room, even with an overhauled offensive coaching staff, I think there'll be some red flags. I think they win that game. I think they're going to win that game. I don't know how healthy Bo Nix is going to be, so I think they start 1-0. Week 2 at home against the Colts. They've had some struggles with the Colts in the past. It was ironically, the Colts are the last team they beat in week 12 last year. I think they're going to win that game. I don't think the Colts are very good. Daniel Jones, A, is not very good. B, is coming off an injury. They should win that game. Weeks 3 and 4, they play, in my opinion, 2 of the 3 worst teams in the AFC on the road. And both of those teams' fan bases probably don't care enough to show up to the games. At Miami, at the Raiders, I think they win them both. So I'm not trying to be too much of a homer, but I honest to God think they're going to be 4-0 at their bye. I think they have a very advantageous schedule early on. Week 6, they're at home against the Chargers. I think they will win that game. I think they're going to be 5-0 headed to Seattle. Now, I think they're going to lose in Seattle. I think that's their first loss. It's a tough matchup. Mahomes has only played in Seattle once in his career, and they lost that game back in 2018. You're going to stub your toe eventually. I think the Seahawks, as of now, are the better team. I think they lose that game. I also think they're going to lose at Denver. So I think they're going to lose 2 in a row on a 2-game road trip to Seattle and Denver. Excuse me. But then they give a really good reprieve, the 3-game stretch against the Jets, Falcons, and Cardinals. I think they win all 3 of those games. I think they're 8-2 going to the Bills on Thanksgiving night. However, I think they lose on Thanksgiving for the 2nd year in a row. Look, the Chiefs never win in Buffalo. They never beat the Bills in the regular season, regardless of where the game is. I think that trend continues. I think they lose that game. I also think they lose to the Rams. So I think they're going to have 2 separate 2-game losing streaks this year. The Rams, by my estimation, are the best team in the league as currently constructed. So I think they're going to be 8-4 headed to Cincinnati. I think they'll beat the Bengals. I don't know what to make of the Bengals. I think they should win that game. They're the better team. I think they're going to beat the Patriots at home on Monday Night Football to get to 10-4. I'll say I'll say they lose at home to the Niners. They're bound to drop a game at home they shouldn't. I think that's the game right there to get to 10-5. And then I think they win their last 2. I think they beat the Chargers in SoFi, and I think they beat the Raiders at home. I have them at 12-5, which might seem a bit homerish just because how bad they were a year ago. But look, they have a lot of layups. The Jets are a layup. The Raiders are a layup. The Dolphins are a layup. The Cardinals are like a slam dunk. Honestly, like the Chargers, whatever you make of them, like that's a game they should win. They should beat the Colts. They should at minimum split with the Broncos. You can't get swept by them again. Look, obviously, like the Seahawks and the Rams on the road, that's tough. The Bills on the road, that's tough. The Bengals on the road, depending how good the Bengals are, could be tough. I think they win. So give me 12-5 for the Chiefs for my first record prediction in 2026.
Okay, yeah, we're not too far off. We have some disagreements, but I'll just fire it off because you already list off the schedule. So I think they lose to the Broncos in week 1. I just think like maybe Mahomes will need like 2 games to get ramped up, and I think that's a game they could probably slip up. And then week 2, I think they beat the Colts. Then I think they beat the Dolphins and Raiders heading into their bye. Coming out of the bye, I do think they beat the Chargers because I think they'll get back to being good after bye weeks after last year. And then I think they do lose to Seattle. That could probably be one of their worst loss of the season in terms of how much points they lose by. And then I have them beating Denver in week 8. I think this is where I think the Chiefs are going to play a little bit harder because they lost to Denver in week 1, and I think they're going to play extra hard knowing, okay, like we have to win this game or we're screwed, and that's part of why I think they might lose by double digits to Seattle the week before as they're getting ready for the Denver matchup. Week 9, it's the Jets. Week 10, I have Atlanta upsetting them. I think
Oh
that
boy.
that could be a classic trap game. It just depends on how well Michael Penix plays this year. But the Falcons have a sneakily talented defense, and they have weapons. So like that could just be a game that gets hairy for the Chiefs because they're going to lose 1 or 2 games this year. They have no business losing. That's just how it is with a flawed roster. And then I think they beat the Cardinals. I think they lose to Buffalo on Thanksgiving. They barely lose to the Rams a week later. I do think they beat the Bengals this year. I don't know how much I believe in their defense, but it's more talented. But I think the Chiefs, given their improved pass rush, could bother Joe Burrow a little bit, and I don't think they're going to lose every game against an elite team. So, Week 15, I think they beat the Patriots. I also had them losing to the Niners, so we both had them
Mhm.
slipping up because the Niners will be coming off a mini bye, so that's going to make it tough. I don't really care about the cold weather that much. Like I know some people we like
Yeah, they're
say
at the Chargers on a Thursday night week before, aren't they? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I think like the point, like, oh, the Niners are a warm weather team. Like, I think that's kind of a myth unless they're a bad team or they're like the Dolphins from a few years ago, where like, oh, like they're not literally not wired to play outside, play in cold weather. I think the 49ers are built to play in cold weather. I don't really care. And I don't know if it'll be that cold because it's December in Kansas City. It could be 30, it could be 10 below. But okay, week 17, I think they beat the Chargers, and then I think they'll beat the Raiders at home to close the season. I have them at 11-6.
Okay, so 1 game difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Atlanta would be a bad loss. So I think our difference is like we both have them losing the Niners. We have them like the Broncos games. I have them losing on the road. I have them winning at home. You have the opposite. Um, but we're pretty similar. We're pretty similar with our predictions. We both have them losing that 2 game stretch against the Bills and Rams. We both have them beating the Pats at home. We both have them winning in Cincinnati. So look, I think they're an 11 or 12 win team this year. Like, look, they're not going to be like I'd be shocked if they're a non-playoff team again. If they are, that's a serious problem. And I do think their schedule is pretty advantageous. I mean, two I mean, take the Falcons out because they're a team that like maybe depending what you think of them. The Jets and the Cardinals twice in a 3 week stretch is great. The Dolphins and the Raiders 2 in a row is great. Even the Colts I throw in there. Like I think the Colts are not a very good team, to be honest with you. So they have a schedule that like they should win 11 or 12 games if they're close to what they once were. All right, Lucas, do you have any final thoughts on the Chiefs before we move on to the other 5 teams we're going to discuss here real quick?
No, I don't. I don't. I mean, or actually, I don't. I didn't love the way the schedule wrote out. I mean, I don't like the early bye.
The
I
week
don't like
5
the
bye is not ideal. Now I'll throw that
yeah,
in.
and I don't like that. Like, oh, they have like 3 games in a row that are like super difficult. Maybe even 4 or 5 in a row, depending on how you view the Patriots. But it's not the worst schedule ever because I don't think they have like a rest disadvantage as much as like the Chargers will. But I think it's not the best schedule, but it could have been a lot worse. But I also one thing I think I haven't seen a lot of people talking about. I don't like opening the season with 2 games at home. Like I don't like that. And the reason is
Yeah.
they're gonna have to play 9 of 14 games on the road between weeks 3 and week 17. Like that's a ton. And plus they're gonna have a bye. Like I know this is not a new stat. They're gonna play like 3 home games in like 3 months between like September and like early December. That's not ideal. And like granted, those 2 home games are against the 2 of those home games are against the Jets and the Cardinals. So it's like that's pretty easy. And then the other home game is at home against the Chargers off a bye.
Yeah.
So it's not like oh they're playing like it's not like the 3 home games are against elite teams coming off extended rest.
Hmm.
So at least the 3 home games they do have in that long stretch are very, very winnable games, but that's not going to be fun. I would rather they have opened the season with 2 road games than 2 home games, but that's my personal preference. We can move on.
Yeah, I'll just say the game I'm most confident they lose is at Seattle. And friend of the show, Matt Verderam, actually had them winning that game. I'd be stunned if they win that game, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think that game could get rough. Speaking of the Seahawks, their schedule. So they were one of the 5 teams we're going to discuss, obviously coming off a championship. They opened the season, first game of the season on a Wednesday this year against the Patriots in a rematch of Super Bowl 60. Week 2, they're at Arizona, late window on Fox. Week 3, they're at Washington. Week 4, they are home against the Chargers. Week 5, they are home against the Niners. Week 6, they are at Denver on a Thursday night. Week 7, they obviously they host the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Week 8, they host the Bears on a Monday night. Week 9, they host the Cardinals. Week 10, they're at the Raiders. Week 11, bye. Week 12, at San Francisco, late window on Fox. Week 13, host the Cowboys, Monday Night Football. Week 14, they host the Giants. Week 15, they are at Philadelphia on a Saturday. Week 16, they host the Rams on Christmas. Week 17, they're at Carolina. Week 18, they're at the Rams. So both Rams games with twice in the last 3 weeks. Look, the Seahawks schedule, I think, is pretty like, yeah, they have stretches that are really hard. They also have stretches that are really easy. Like those first 4 games, Pats, Cardinals, Commanders, and Chargers, like they should probably win all those games. And then they have a 2 game stretch against the Cardinals and the Raiders. But they also like look, the Bears at home, that's not easy. Obviously the Rams games are difficult. At Philadelphia, that's very difficult. If the Eagles are what they were or close to what they were 2 years ago. Cowboys, it's a game they should win, but not an easy game. So, I mean, obviously at the Niners, like that's a fairly tough game. Like I don't know. I think the Seahawks are going to be good again this year. I don't think they're going to win 14 games again. I do think they've lost some pieces. Obviously, Kenneth Walker is their biggest loss. But I mean, getting 4 teams that they are, I think, definitely better than to open the year, and then that 3 week stretch of Raiders, Cardinals bye week before heading to Santa Clara, I think is advantageous for Seattle. What say you?
Yeah, I didn't mind the schedule for Seattle, but at the same time, like it's difficult in the sense I know it's easy to say it this far out, but like the only 2 games I look at and be like, okay, they're 100% better than them in terms of like they're playing a team that like they're gonna beat. Like it's the Cardinals. That's it. They don't play the Dolphins this year. They don't play the Raiders, or they do play the Raiders. So
They do play the Raiders in week 10. Yeah.
Cardinals and
Yeah.
the Raiders. Cardinals and the Raiders. So
Yeah.
like, especially before the first 8 games of the year, the only game I could say I'm like 90% confident they're going to win is the Cardinals game in week 2. Like
Yeah.
they got the Chiefs, they got the Broncos, Bears, Commanders. I think could be competitive if Daniels is healthy. Like they better not have a Super Bowl hangover. Like because like this and like we've seen that like non-Chiefs and Eagles teams, mainly non-Chiefs teams, struggle even if they won the Super Bowl the year before. So this is not the worst schedule ever, but
The Rams in 2022. That's like the extreme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hate the schedule. I don't have like a lot of insight on it, but I don't know if Seattle's really going to have the same success they did last year, but I didn't think they'd win the Super Bowl last year. So what do I know?
This is true. I thought I'd been going 6-11. So that's for the Seahawks. And this is for the other top dog in the league last year, the Rams, their division rival. So they opened the season in Timbuktu, Melbourne, against the 49ers. Week 2, they're at home against the Giants on a Monday night. Week 3, they're at Denver on a Sunday night. Week 4, they're at Philadelphia. Week 5, they are home against the Bills on a Monday night. Potential Super Bowl preview. Who knows? Week 6, they're at the Cart at Arizona. Week 7, they're at the Raiders. So pretty nice 2 game stretch there. Week 8, they play the Chargers, pretty much a neutral site game. Week 9, they're at Washington. Week 10, they are home against the Cardinals. Week 11 is their bye week. Week 12, they host the Packers on Thanksgiving Eve. Week 13, they host the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. Week 14, they're at San Francisco. Week 15, they host the Cowboys on CBS's Game of the Week. Week 16, they are at Seattle on Christmas night on Fox. Week 17, they're at Tampa. And then week 18, they host the Seahawks. So, look, the Rams are, in pretty much every book in America, the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Their schedule is not super easy, though. Like, there's those first 5 games, Niners, Giants, okay, they should win that. But then Broncos on the road, Eagles on the road, Bills, like, and it's going to be mostly Bills fans at that game. Like, they better start fast. Like, the Rams better be ready to go this year. Because, like, after that, you get the Cardinals and the Raiders and the Chargers. Like, they should win those games. Commanders, they should win that game. And then after their bye, it's not easy either. You have the Packers, you have the Chiefs, you have the Niners, you have the Cowboys if they're, if Dak is healthy and they're as good as offensively as I think they can be. You have the Seahawks twice in the last 3 weeks. Like the Rams, like they better be as good as everyone thinks they're going to be because that schedule's not easy. I, honest to God, think the Seahawks have an easier schedule given where the games are placed because the only games that I look at for the Rams is like that's a layup are the Cardinals games, the Raiders game, and then like they should beat the Giants, but like the Giants feel improved. They should beat the Commanders, but they have to go all the way to Washington. I don't know, man. Like I think the Rams are a really, really good football team, but like that schedule is tough in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not fun. I do think they got screwed over. They're not having a full bye week. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know because like they play the Cardinals in week 10, then have a bye, but then they play Wednesday on that Thanksgiving Eve game. So it's not like they have the 13 plus days off. They only
Yeah.
have like 10 days off, which is not really fair. But then they'll have another mini bye two games later. So it adds up. But like they just got kind of screwed and then they got to play at Seattle on a short week. It's not the best schedule. Like we see like Stafford is at that like point of his career where he could be very
Right.
up and down. Like he literally won the MVP last year, but like I wouldn't be shocked if he took a big step back this year. He's another
No, I
year
wouldn't
older.
either.
What
He's
is he?
38. Yeah.
He's going to be 38, 39 years old. It's like, how long could he keep playing like this? So I think they need to get off to a fast start. That game against the Niners, it's technically a home game, but like it's a road game in principle. Like it's a road game for both teams. Because literally, I don't even know how many of those players have been to Australia before. I would be shocked if like 30 combined have ever set foot in Australia. That's probably too high. So like it's going to be a road game just because it's so unfamiliar for them. And then like if the Broncos and Eagles are as good as they can be, that's going to be tough. But like they need to take advantage of that like 3 or 4 game like soft stretch with the Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, and maybe Commanders. And then the Cardinals again, so a 5-game stretch. They need to take advantage. I think if they have a slow start, those first 5 games, the next 5 games, they need to go 4-1. Because I think after the bye week, they'll start to turn it on. And if the Rams can be as good as I think they can, they need to play very well after that bye week. And I think even if they play elite teams, if they play up to their talent level, they should beat a lot of them. Just because I think they could be the best team in football. So yeah, they play the Chiefs, they play the Niners, they play the Cowboys, they play Seattle twice in the Bucks. But like, if the Rams are playing like the Super Bowl favorites, they shouldn't lose more than 2 games in that stretch, given how late in the year it is, and it's after their bye. But it's not an easy schedule, and who knows if Stafford can hold up against a brutal lineup of teams that first 4 weeks, at which all of them have elite pass rushers or have elite pass rush units. Niners have Nick Bosa. The Giants have Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and as of right now, Kayvon Thibodeau. No Dexter Lawrence, but good edge rushers. Then they have the Broncos and the Eagles. Both of those have pretty good pass rushers. The Bills, I don't think are going to have a very good pass rush, but like that, those first 4 games are brutal, and the Rams need to protect Stafford.
Absolutely, for sure. And like Stafford's a guy, like as good as he is, like he's not a mobile quarterback, and that would be ideal there. All right, let's go to the Bills now. The Bills are, I believe, have the best odds to win the AFC. The last time I checked, so they opened the season at Houston, the early window on CBS. If you remember that game last year, it was a Thursday night game. Josh Allen was sacked 7 times, and that game was insane. They couldn't do anything on offense. Week 2, they opened their new stadium against the Lions on Thursday Night Football. Week 3, they host the Chargers. Week 4, they host the Pats. Week 5, they're at the Rams on a Monday night. Week 6, they're at the Raiders. Week 7 is their bye. Week 8, they host the Ravens. Week 9, they're at Minnesota on a Monday night. Week 10, who they play week 10? It's
Jets, at the Jets.
Oh, they're at the Jets, right. Week 11, they host the Dolphins. Week 12, they host the Chiefs on Thanksgiving night. Week 13, they're at New England, late window on CBS. Week 14, they're at Green Bay on a Sunday night. Week 15, they host the Bears, Saturday night game on CBS. Week 16, they're at Denver, the scene of the crime last year, on Christmas on Netflix. And then they have a pretty easy 2-game stretch to end the year. They're at Miami, week 17, and they host the Jets, week 18. So, look, Buffalo's schedule, they have some stretches, like very similar to the Seahawks. Like they have some stretches that are very easy. They also have some stretches that are difficult. Like those first 5 games, Texans, Lions, Chargers, they should win that, but like it's not super easy. Patriots, Rams, like that. The Bills, like, is similar. Like that's a tough first 5-game stretch. You get the Raiders after that, you should win that. You know, you have the Jets and the Dolphins 4 times. Like that's ideal. But they also have, you know, a 3-game stretch of Chiefs, Patriots, Packers, and Lambeau. And you know, they have the Bears after that. They have the Broncos after that. So that's a 5-game stretch. Like Buffalo is a team that I really have a difficult time getting a read on. I think there's a world where they're really good. I also think there's a world where Joe Brady's not a good head coach. Their defense, you know, in their scheme adjustment just can't stop anybody. And they disappoint and they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs for the first time since 2018. But this schedule, like they have some layup games, but not a lot. Like even the game at Minnesota on that Monday night game, like that's not a super easy game. I mean, you have that, you know, the Vikings defense, which is very well coached with Brian Flores, against a Bills offense that needs to play a certain way given their personnel at wide receiver. Okay, you have the Jets and the Dolphins. They have the Jets and the Dolphins back to back twice. Like that is ideal. But the Bills are an interesting team, and I think that schedule, like they have some really long stretches of first 5 games, not easy, and then that stretch from the Chiefs in Week 12 through the Broncos in Week 16, not even remotely easy.
Yeah, I think this is a team like it's going to be a theme of today. Theme of the day. They need to get off to a fast start.
Mm-hmm.
And if Joe Brady either A needs an adjustment period or does not good, those first 5 games could be catastrophic for Buffalo. Like
Yeah,
all 5 of those games are losable. I'm not saying they're going to be they're going to be underdogs in all 5 of them, but like Houston's had their number in Houston the past couple of years. Like,
yeah.
and
I mean,
Detroit,
Josh Allen
Detroit
was
is
9 of 30 in a game
in
against them.
2024. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and then Detroit. That's a Thursday night game, but like Detroit's not traveling too far. But like Detroit's very talented. Like, and if their new
yeah,
offensive coordinator can come in and do some very good things, then that's a very losable game. But that's their home opener in their new stadium, so maybe they won't lose it. Chargers, I'm not a big fan of them, but like they're coming off the mini bye, so they'll probably win it. But like, I'm not going to sit here and be shocked if the Chargers win that game. It's not like it's going to be a huge upset. And the Patriots, like Patriots beat them in Buffalo last year, and then the
right.
Rams, like they could very easily be 1-4 in that stretch. Like I don't think anybody would be shocked. I think bare minimum they need to be 2-3. I think if they could finish that stretch 2-3, I think they're going to be okay. But if they go 1-4, they could miss the playoffs. But if they go 3-2, they could probably compete for the number 1 seed just because like they have like easy stretches coming up. And I think for the Bills, I don't really hate the opponents they play in terms of like every team's going to play good teams, but like they play the Dolphins twice and the Jets twice.
Right.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yes.
And then they get the Chiefs at home, and then the Vikings could be hit or miss, and then they play the Raiders. So it's like I don't hate that, but it's like the stretches. It's like they play at home once between week 5 and week 11. Like they play
Right.
at home once in 6 weeks. That's against the Ravens. That could be a good team, and then they just then they
I'm
have
also,
to
by the way, I'm
play.
shocked that game's at 1 p.m. Like that was shocking to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like it's
Yeah.
weird, but like yeah, not every elite game, but like they have like stretches this year, like where like if like they just have a bad 3 weeks, whatever reason, like they can go 0-3, and that could ruin
Mm-hmm.
their. If it doesn't ruin their season, it ruins their like placement in the standings. So like
Right.
I think they need to get a hot start. If they can go 2-3 after the first 5 weeks, they'll be fine. 3-2, I think they're golden. But man, it's like they like 2 different like 4 or 5 game stretches this year that could be like, holy crap, they could lose 4 or 5, and like no one would sit here and be like, oh my goodness, what happened?
Yeah, if you're a Bills fan, 3-2 over those first 5 games. If you need a reminder, Texans, Lions, Chargers, Patriots, Rams, not easy at all. Like they have to, like, and like it's going to be an adjustment period on defense. Like the Josh Allen in that offense needs to carry its weight in those first 5 games. Like 3-2 would feel like a win because you have the Raiders, you have the bye, you have the Ravens, who they seemingly always beat in Buffalo. So, and then you have the Jets and the Dolphins shortly after. Um, yeah, those first 5 games, I think will tell me a lot about the Bills season. 3-2 should be the goal. All right, let's go with their division rival, the defending AFC champion New England Patriots, who we've discussed in the schedule multiple times. So they opened the season literally. They play in the first game at Seattle. Week 2 is their home opener against the Steelers. Week 3, they're at Jacksonville. Week 4, they are at Buffalo. Week 5, they are at home against the Raiders. Week 6, they host the Jets. Week 7, they're at Chicago on a Thursday night. Week 8, they're at Miami. Week 9, they host the Packers on Fox's Game of the Week. Week 10, they play the Lions in Germany. Week 11 is the bye. Week 12, they're at the Chargers on a Sunday night. Week 13, they host the Bills, 3:25 on CBS. Week 14, they host the Vikings on a Thursday night. Week 14, they're at Kansas City on a Monday night. Week 16, they are at the Jets. Week 17, they host the Broncos in a rematch of the AFC Championship game. That game is TBD, actually. And then week 18, they are at home against the Dolphins. So, look, a big storyline for the Patriots last year was their schedule because their schedule last year was so laughably easy. It's a big reason why they won 14 games. It's a big reason why they ultimately went to the Super Bowl. Even their schedule in the playoffs was advantageous. You got an offensively challenged Chargers team, offensively challenged Texans team, and then Jarrett Stidham to get to Santa Clara last year. Those first 4 games are really, really tough. Like if you're the Pats and you're 2-2, you're really happy. Seahawks, Steelers, Jaguars, Bills, 3 on the road. Not fun. Like not fun at all. Like if you're the Pats, like even if if you win one of those games, okay, you have the Raiders and the Jets after that. Like you feel okay, like to get to 3-3. Like 1-3 doesn't feel like a disaster in that stretch. Like you probably shouldn't lose the Steelers at home, like at Jacksonville. It's a team that like I'm not quite sure about. Like I think they had a bad offseason. That's a game you could win, but you're at Buffalo. Not an easy game. At Seattle, that game could be hell. And then they have a stretch late in the year. Like you have the Raiders and the Jets, fine. You have a game against the Dolphins, but after their bye, they have the Chargers, on the road. That's a winnable game. But then they have a stretch of Bills, Vikings, both at home. Excuse me, Chiefs, Jets, okay, fine, Broncos. So, like, I think the Patriots, their toughest stretch, they also have a game against the Packers in there. Their toughest stretch is those first four games. And then I would say week 13 through 17, like I said, you have the Bills, you have the Vikings, you have the Chiefs, take the Jets aside, and then the Broncos. Look, obviously it's a significantly more difficult schedule than last year, but similar to the Bills, similar to the Rams, those first four games are going to tell us a lot. Like, it's weird saying 1-3 would be a success. I honestly got it. If the Patriots are 1-3 after that stretch, like beat the Jags or the Steelers, take your pick, and then you get the Raiders and the Jets at home after that. That's a win because you get to 3-3, your season's back on track, you're feeling better. I don't know, like the Patriots, we're going to learn a lot about them early on, I think.
Yeah, I actually don't hate the schedule for them. Like, even those first four games are tough, but like the Steelers, like, I don't know how good the Steelers are going to be. Like the Jaguars, I don't exactly like know
Yeah.
how good the Jaguars are going to be. Like
That's the
the
one
Jaguars,
game like they should probably win in Jacksonville, I think, in my opinion.
exactly. And then the Bills, like, I don't know how good Buffalo's going to be. Like if
True.
Joe Brady's a dud, like maybe Mike Vrabel could like just outcoach him. So like I don't really hate that stretch, but like other than that, like not a lot of tough. They don't have like a single tough 3-game stretch until like in terms of like, oh, I think they're in a lot of trouble after that first 5 weeks. Because like even when they play like the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears, they have the Jets and Dolphins mixed in there. So like, okay,
Yeah,
they
that's
have like
true.
they have games mixed in they should win to prevent a losing streak. But like even after their bye, like they have the Chargers, they have to go on the road to the Chargers. That sucks, but at least they're coming off a bye week, so it's like
Going to be
okay,
mostly Patriots fans too in
exactly.
that game.
And
Yeah.
then they have the Bills, which that'll be really tough coming off a basically a short week. Is like Sunday night game. The game will end around 11:30 Boston time, and then they got to fly 6 hours back. That's brutal. But then they do have the Vikings, but like that's on a Thursday night. Like the Vikings are going to have to travel halfway across the country on a short week.
Right.
Like that's not exactly fun. And then they'll play the Chiefs, which is not going to be fun or good for them. But like they're coming off a mini bye, basically. It's like they have like almost 2 weeks off. So it's like if you're going to have to play an Arrowhead that late in the year, might as well be off of like coming off Thursday the week before. So not a lot of like stretches of death. As long as they don't go 0-4 in the first 4 weeks of the year, I think they'll end up being a playoff team. But like it just depends on how well I think they bounce back this year.
Right.
Bounce back in terms of can they actually beat good teams?
Right.
Like can they prove that the Super Bowl is not? Can they prove that the Super Bowl was like a fluke and like
Right.
like break the schedule may like if they can
Yeah.
actually take a step forward and like be a competitive team, I think they're going to be okay. But like if they like take a step back and like like they actually have to play a real schedule this time, they could be in a world of trouble, especially after that first month of the year. But I think if Drake May continues to play well and Mike Vrabel doesn't lose the locker room for reasons we will not say again, then I think they'll be fine. But like these are the Patriots are a team that need to take advantage of their easy games. Like they do. I'm sorry. I know we could say the same about the Bills, but like they need to beat the Jets and the Dolphins. They need to go 4-0 against those teams.
The Raiders at home, who they lost to last year, weirdly enough, in week 1.
That just shows how random week 1 is. But like I don't hate the schedule for the Patriots, but like again, like I don't know how many easy schedules there are in the NFL because like it seems like everyone has a tough schedule because 27 to 32 teams have a case to make the playoffs, you can say. So it's not like like how many like truly tanking bad teams there are. It's like the Jets, Dolphins, Raiders, Cardinals, and then everyone else will try to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like in the Browns.
Maybe pick an NFC South team. Yeah, the Browns. Yeah, them too.
Yeah. So it's like so not a lot of bad stretches. So it's like it's not. This is probably the easiest of the schedules we've talked about so far, and into these last four, not counting the Chiefs, but like it just depends on how well you think the Patriots are this year. If they take a step forward and they're back to being an elite team, then I think the schedule is very doable. But if they have a Super Bowl hangover, the season could get out of hand very quickly.
Right. And look, I'm a big Drake May fan. I think he's an excellent young quarterback. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. But he's got like I got to show like that playoff run last year was like yeah, an exception and not the norm against high quality opponents. All right, last team we're going to discuss here. It's the Chiefs competition in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, whose fans were talking a lot on Twitter this week. Very very interesting. So their schedule. They actually I don't have their schedule memorized. So like let me pull it up right here. 2026 Broncos. So they're scheduled. Obviously, they open at Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Week 2, they hosted. They have their home opener against the Jaguars. Week 3, they host the Rams on a Sunday night. Week 4, they're at San Francisco, 3:25 on CBS. Week 5, they're at the Chargers. It's gonna be mostly Broncos fans, I assume. Week 6, they host the Seahawks on a Thursday night. Week 7, they're at Arizona. Week 8, they host the Chiefs, 3:25 on CBS. Week 9, they're at Carolina. Week 10 is their bye week. Week 11, they host the Raiders. Week 12, they're at Pittsburgh on Black Friday. Week 13, they host the Dolphins. Week 14, they're at the Jets. Week 15, they're at the Raiders. So they have a 4 out of 5 game stretch against the Raiders twice, the Dolphins, and the Jets. That's pretty nice. Week 16, they host the Bills on Christmas. Week 17, they're at New England. That's TBD. And then they close the regular season at home against the Chargers. So look, looking at the Broncos, those first 6 games are really, really rough. After that, Lucas, like their schedule, they're a team that could start slow and still make the playoffs. Like, look, first 6 games, look, Chiefs, Jags, Rams, Seahawks, week 6, Niners, and Chargers. It's like those are not easy. Like they should beat the Chargers. The rest of those games, you could make a case that they're the second best, they're the inferior team in that game. Although I would contend you should beat Jacksonville at home. But after that, like Cardinals, Jets, 4 out of 5 games, like the Raiders twice, the Jets, the Dolphins, even like Pittsburgh is a decent team, I think. But like it's a game that like if the Broncos are a team that they think they can be, and that they think they can take that next step to get to the Super Bowl, like, you should beat the Steelers. Yeah, I don't care if it's on the road. But after that, it gets a little tougher, like the Bills, the Patriots in Foxborough, and then the Chargers at home. Like the Broncos, I think weeks 7 through 15, they really need to capitalize on. Like you get the Cardinals, you get the Jets, you get the Dolphins, you get the Raiders twice. You have to win those football games, especially if they get to a 2-4 start, which is not impossible given those first 6 games. Like a common trend among these teams is that the early portion of their schedule is difficult.
Yeah, like I think this is the toughest like 8-game stretch we've talked about so far the past for like the first like 6 teams we've talked about. Like the Broncos better prove that like they're not going to be the 2025 Chiefs in terms of like the Broncos they won a lot of close games last year by the skin of their teeth, and they got to prove that like okay, we could actually do that. This team did not make a lot of moves in the offseason. Literally, it was like Jalen Waddle, that was it. And then like Jonah Coleman, I actually like that pick. They got made fun of. I don't understand why people don't like that pick because it makes perfect sense. But like granted, they didn't do a lot. It's like Jonah Coleman, Jalen Waddle. That's it. So they're just betting that they're going to be good enough again this year. And that 8-game stretch, which their only break is at the Cardinals, or the 9-game stretch that is at the Cardinals in week 7. That's it. Every other game is losable. Like this could be a situation where the luck just goes against them. Unlike last year where it went for them, and they could end up being 3-6, but not being that bad of a team. Like they just like, man, they lost 2 very close games and 2 or 3 very, very close games by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
And they just, or by the skin of the opponent's teeth, and they're 3-6 instead of like 6-3 or 5-4. Because I think if they can get through the first 9 games 5-4, they could probably finish the year like 11-6, 12-5. Like they could do that. If they could finish like 6, if they could start 6-3, I think they're a real threat to get the number 1 seed. Because I don't know if this is going to be a year where any team in the AFC wins 14 games. So like 13-4 could be good enough to get the number 1 seed. But like, man, like their easiest games I would say are, other than the Cardinals games, so the remaining 8 games are like at home against the Jaguars, at the Chargers, and then at Carolina. Even at Carolina, like
that's not easy. You have to go all the way to Carolina. It's a team that went to the plallayoffs last year. It's like
exactly
it's a game they can lose.
And they upgraded their defense significantly. So it's like. And they picked Monroe Freeling, who could be a very good tackle. So it's not like their edge rush could take advantage of that. Their O-line's actually in pretty good shape in Carolina. So like they could be 3-6. I would not be shocked. But like, man, and sometimes in the NFL we forget like stretches can sometimes define teams. Like the first 9 games could just ruin their entire season and ruin the vibe. If they're 3-6, like who knows if that locker room's like completely like checks out. And like
Yeah,
maybe because we look at it logically, like, okay, they're better than the Raiders, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Jets, but like and the Raiders again. But like if they start 3-6 and the locker room quits, they could drop 1 or 2 of those games. Rather than if they were 6-3, they might be like, okay, we could feel the momentum building, and they beat those teams. So like it's kind of like the Cardinals, who are the most they probably have the hardest first 13 games in the NFL. Like the Cardinals
yeah,
could be 0-13. And that could just cause them to like check out and quit. They might go 0-17 because they're 0-13. Like the players might be like, this is bullshit. We suck. So
yeah,
they cannot let that for those first 9 weeks define them, because
for
if
sure.
they go 3-6, Sean Payton needs to make sure the locker room stays together. But more preferable, they need to go like 6-3. I think if they go 6-3, I think they're golden, and I think like
Right.
they can. I think they're the favorites to be the number 1 seed, unless they lose twice to Kansas City. Like they could
Yeah,
be 6-3, but if they're 0-2 against the Chiefs, then that probably tells you the Chiefs through their first 9 games are going to be 7-2 or better and have the tiebreaker.
for sure. And like looking at those first 9 games, like you should beat the Jaguars at home. You should beat the Chargers in SoFi. Like you obviously need to beat the Cardinals. And look, the Panthers game, given the travel, it's a game that's not easy. It's not a layup. It's a game that you should win. If you are a legitimate contender, you should beat Bryce Young in the Carolina Panthers. Um, and like you have to at minimum split with the Chiefs, if you're Denver. So look, are they going to go 14-3 again? Probably not. But those first 9 games, like I said, 6-3 would be ideal. 7-2, if you're the Broncos, if you're a Broncos fan, you might as well like start the parade already. But look, I think the Broncos are a good team. I think they're a playoff caliber team. I do think they're going to regress a little bit. And I think we're going to learn a lot about them, similar to the Bills, similar to the Patriots, similar to the Rams, honestly. We're going to learn a lot about them early on. Because a lot of these teams, like I said, they have really tough stretches to start the year. All right. We're going to blow through this last segment. We're going to give our top 3 games. We won't go in full in depth, but we're going to give our top 3 games in each prime time / quasi prime time window. Like I said, Sunday night, Monday night, Fox, CBS, Thursday night. Um, Top 3 games that we are most looking forward to, most highly anticipating. So I'll start. For Sunday Night Football, I have the Seahawks and the Chiefs in Week 7. Look, I think the Chiefs. I predict them to lose that game, but if they win, that'd be awesome. I have the Bills and the Chiefs on Thanksgiving in Week 12, and then I have the 49ers and the Eagles, 2 NFC, mainstays of the last half decade in Week 17 in Santa Clara.
Yeah, I agree on 2 of the 3. The Chiefs at Bills could be for the number 1 seed or a top the AFC. Chiefs at Seahawks, like that's going to be. I put that on there because that's going to be a real test for the Chiefs. Like it'll be their second game after a bye. Mahomes should be basically 100% at that point. That'll be a real measuring stick. If the Chiefs come out, and even if they lose, but if they're really, really competitive, like I think that's going to be a very good sign for them. And then I put the Lions with the Vikings. It's going to be Week 15.
Ooh,
NFC North, anything's on the table. There's a path for every one of those teams to win the division. Because
right.
if Kevin O'Connell can repeat his magic with Kyler Murray that he did with Sam Darnold 2 years ago, like the Vikings have a good offensive line. They're stacked at weaponry. Maybe the running back could use an upgrade, but like if Kyler Murray like can recapture his 2021 level of play, that team could win the division. So it's like that
Yeah.
could just be a game that like has so much on the line. Detroit Vikings in Minnesota, Week 15. So I'll start. Okay, I'm done. Those are my top 3.
All right. Awesome. Very nice. Vikings Lions is an underrated one. That division, like I said, that division is the best division in football. Like, I don't think there's a bad team in that division. I think all 4 of those teams are good, to be honest with you. All right. So the Monday night slate, my top 3 games I'm most looking forward to in that one, Rams Bills in Week 5. I think a lot of people, that's their Super Bowl prediction going into the year, from what I can tell. You have the Chiefs and the Broncos to open the season in Week 1. And then I'm going to go with the Seahawks and the Bears in Week 8. That's a game that I thought was going to be opening night. It's Week 8. 2 teams that were in the playoffs last year, 2 really exciting teams. Like the Bears won so many crazy games last year, and it's going to be a good test for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams to go up in that environment in prime time. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It's maybe an NFC Championship preview. Who knows? It's two teams that are looking to repeat their success from a year ago. So yeah, to repeat, Chiefs Broncos week 1, Rams Bills week 5, Seahawks Bears week 8.
Gotcha. Okay, so week 10, Chargers Ravens. I think that could be a game that could like define the wild card race in the AFC. So that could have a lot of stakes. Panthers at Bucks week 12 is my dog. Breaks into my room. So week 10, Chargers at Ravens. Week 12, Panthers at Bucks. That could be for the NFC South crown. That could have a lot of stakes. And then I put week 7, Cowboys at the Eagles. Like, I think Dallas could be really good this year if like the chips fall right. Like, I think the Cowboys could win the NFC East if everything goes their way. So that could be a game that has a lot of stakes early in the season, but that just depends on which Dallas team shows up. So those are my top 3.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So week 7, week 10, week 12. Awesome. All right. Eagles Cowboys is a game that I'm looking forward to for sure. That's always a good one. All right, I'm going to the Fox slate now. Fox tweeted out their primary games that they'll be televising in late windows. So I'll start with week 5, Packers Bears. I mean, those two teams played 3 great games last year. Obviously, that wild card game was absolutely bonkers. This game is in Lambeau. Look, the rivalry's back. The Bears are actually competitive against the Packers for the first time pretty much my entire life. So that's a game I'm looking forward to. And then 2 games, again, involving the Seahawks late in the year. Week 15, Eagles-Seahawks on a Saturday, the last 2 Super Bowl champions going at it in Lincoln Financial Field. That's obviously should be a really exciting one. And then I think that an obvious one, Week 16 on Christmas, Seahawks-Rams. I mean, it's in my opinion, the 2 best teams in football, potentially fighting for the number 1 seed again. Doesn't get much better than that. So yeah, Packers Bears week 5, Eagles Seahawks week 15, Seahawks Rams week 16.
I'm confused right now. Packers week 15.
Philadelphia Seattle. It's a Saturday game.
Okay, that's probably why. Okay, I didn't have that on my list because I was going based because the only game I think I had on the Fox list was the Packers and the Bears in week 5. The other 2 games were not on my thing because I was only looking at it as the NFL on Fox Instagram post, the America's Game of the Week.
Yeah.
So like I was only going.
I'm kind of assuming that they're sending their top team to those games.
Yeah.
So and there's no way they're not doing Seahawks Rams in week 16. Like, what other game would they do?
Yeah, so like that's why I got a little bit bent out of I got a little confused, but nonetheless, here are going to be my 3 games. Week 14, Chiefs at the Bengals. Like I think that could be a game that has a lot of stakes. Maybe the Chiefs bounce back and the Bengals finally take that next step. That could be for division. That could be for seeding. Like maybe the battle for the 1 or the 2 seed. Then week 17, I put Lions at Bears, kind of similar to why I had Lions at Vikings. That could be for the NFC North crown. Very late in the year. And then week 12, I had Seattle at San Francisco. It's like if the 49ers could maybe stay healthy, that could be a game for divisional seeding. But like, I think that could have a lot of impact on the wild card race as well. If you remember week 18, Seattle at San Francisco was for the number 1 seed.
Right.
So like, even if this is not for the division, if the Rams are doing very well, this could be the difference between, depending on how tiebreakers break out, if one of these teams is 1 game behind the other and they lose, that could be the difference between the 5 and the 7 seed at the very least, which has a huge impact. It kind of removes the possibility of them playing a weaker 4 seed. So I think that game will have a lot of impact. So week 14, Chiefs at Bengals. Week 17, Lions at Bears. Then week 12, Seattle at San Francisco.
Yeah, the NFC West is just insane. Those teams are, I think they're the 3 best teams in the NFC at least, maybe in the entire NFL. If you're going to throw Philadelphia in there, that's fine. So obviously a lot of marquee matchups there. All right, the CBS slate. Shockingly, Bills Chiefs is not there. That's usually the top one. They are on NBC this year. So I actually have, this might be surprising, I actually have the Battle of Pennsylvania in week 11, the Eagles and the Steelers. Look, the Eagles are a team that if they can play at their capacity, I think they can get back to Super Bowl contention if Sean Mannion proves to be the real deal at offensive coordinator. And the Steelers, honestly, I think the Steelers have the best roster that they've had in quite some time. It all depends on Aaron Rodgers, like just playing a solid game manager role. But it's a team that I think if they can, with a more modern coaching staff, as opposed to what Mike Tomlin's been doing, I think they could be a force to at least maybe win a playoff game for the first time in a while. So I think that game's interesting to me. Week 13, the battle for the AFC East, in my opinion, the Patriots and the Bills and Foxborough. I think that's for the division. I think the winner of that game wins the division. If you're New England or Buffalo, you're going to try to avoid getting swept. So that's a huge game there. And then week 16, a rematch of Super Bowls 54 and 58, the Chiefs and the Niners. Look, it's a cross conference matchup, so it doesn't have huge implications in terms of playoff seeding, but I think it's two teams that have legitimate expectations this year, and those two teams always really give good games when they play against each other. So, like I said, Eagles Steelers week 11, Pats Bills week 13, Chiefs Niners in week 16. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, has never lost the 49ers.
That's true. That's true. But we're going to predict it this year, both of us. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one, week 3. I have Ravens at the Cowboys. That one's going to be in Brazil, so that's a little bit intriguing. But like, those are two teams that like weren't very good last year, but I think could be a lot better this year. Like that'll just be a good measuring stick game for both of them. Week 8, Chiefs at the Broncos. I think Mahomes will be 100% by this point. So, and that'll be the second and final game of the Chiefs and Broncos regular season series this year. So that's the last game where that could have a huge impact if both teams are the top 2 teams in the division. Because once that week 8 game is over, they don't play each other the second half of the year. So even though that game will be in November 1st, that game could have as much impact as like winning a week 18 game. So I have Chiefs Broncos, and then last one, Bills and Patriots. Same reasoning, pretty much the exact same reasoning as Chiefs Broncos. Winner could win the division, so I think those are the 3 ones. So Ravens at Cowboys week 3, Chiefs and Broncos week 8, week 13 Bills at Patriots.
All right, awesome. And the final one, Thursday Night Football. And people usually scoff at Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football had some bangers last year, so I included them on here. Maybe the game of the year between the Seahawks and Rams in week 16, which determined the 1 seed. So I went with the opening game this year on their network, Bills Lions in week 2. I think that's a great game. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 teams with some new looks. I mean, the Bills have a new head coach, the Lions have a new play caller, and Drew Petzing coming over from the Cardinals. 2 teams that need to prove something to prove this year. The Bills coming off another playoff exit, the Lions coming off a disappointing year. I think that's going to be a good litmus test for both teams. Week 6, Broncos Seahawks in Denver. Honest to God, this would have been the Super Bowl last year had Bo Nix not gotten hurt. The 2 1 seeds from a year ago, 2 teams trying to prove that last year was not a fluke. 2 teams trying to sustain their success. Obviously, some good storylines in that one. And then I think a pretty easy one, in my opinion. I don't know if you have this, Lucas. Week 13, Rams Chiefs. Look, it's the modern dynasty against the Super Bowl favorites. It's the 2 best quarterbacks in their respective conferences. 2 of the best coaches of their generation. A lot to like in this one. So, Bills Lions week 2, Broncos Seahawks week 6, Rams Chiefs week 13.
Got it. I also have Chiefs Rams week 13 because at that point, if the Chiefs if everything strikes right and it's like 2022 again, that could be the Super Bowl favorite from each conference, and that could be like a Super Bowl preview. And both teams will be coming off a normal week, so it's not going to be watered down like most Thursday games. And then I had week 2, Detroit at Buffalo, first game in Buffalo in their new stadium. Lions, Bills, both teams looking to have a much better regular season than they did last year, especially Detroit. So I had that one on there. And week 17, I had Ravens at the Bengals. That going for the NFC North crown. Those are probably very clearly the 2 best teams in that division. That's probably the de facto AFC North championship. I think whoever wins that game is probably the favorite to win the AFC North at that point, unless something goes very wrong for either team. So I think that's probably the highest stakes matchup, considering how deep into the year it is and the 2 teams playing.
Interesting. I mean, if any Steelers fans are listening to that, they might not be happy with that take, but that's neither here nor there. All right. So that wraps up this podcast episode. Lucas and I will be back next week to give more thoughts. I'm sure something will happen between now and then. But we'll be here all summer to give content to you on the Hip Drop podcast. And of course, football season is it's quickly approaching. It's going to be here before we know it. September 9th is when the NFL season is officially back. Obviously, there's the preseason as well, about a month before that. So, Lucas, do you have any parting thoughts before we disperse?
I do not. I have yet to go through other than sometime this weekend or next weekend, I'm going to go through every single game. And that's because it doesn't make sense to do predictions until the schedule comes out, because then you actually know how the season unfolds, because the NFL is the only sport where the schedule matters. because like in every other sport, like it's so like mixed up and blended. The rest disadvantage isn't that big of a deal, but the NFL it does. So over the next few weeks, I'll be predicting every single game, not just ones for the Chiefs, and that'll kind of give me a vibe of like what I think of every team. Because I'm not gonna manually or like intentionally have a team finish with a certain record because I think they're going to be good. I'm just going to go through every individual game in a vacuum and be like, oh, I thought this team was going to be a 13-win team, but because of their schedule and how it flows, they only won 10 games. So this is where
Right.
this is where the real magic starts.
Awesome. All right, Lucas, I'll see you next week. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and get ready for the 2026 NFL season coming up in September. See ya.